start the process coming back from Philadelphia in January last year and looking how you're going to shape the roster and how it's going to play out. And it's a long, exhaustive, detailed process that led us to where we are today. And I'd like to thank Daves and his coaching staff, my personnel staff, for all the hard work, the collaboration, to come to where we are today. So with that, I will open up the questions.
Joe, talk about the two players that you reportedly, claimed off the waivers, Braid and Rico Payton.
Yeah, Bo Braid was in Baltimore with the Ravens. He's a player out of Maryland that we spent some time with coming out in the draft, and we liked. He played on special teams for him last year. Also can be a depth safety for us. So high character kid, smart, tough, dependable. Checked all those boxes, and can also participate on special teams. Rico Payton, a guy that also, last year during this time, we were hoping, you hope some of these guys get cut, and they end up, making teams and playing, and he's a really good special teams player, and we also think he has defensive value. So just to upgrade, the depth of both of those positions, we're happy to get those guys.
Did you claim really young players on purpose?
We were just looking for good football players that could help us, but yeah, you can look at it. The veterans don't have to go through waivers, so that's something that could have been done previously. If they are subject to waivers, then you got to wait and see how it plays out in terms of who you're going to be rewarded.
Joe, what went into the decision with Tommy, and how hopeful were you maybe that you were able to bring him back here on the practice squad, and sort of how that played out?
Yeah, we've got 3 on the active roster, so it can be difficult sometimes, depending how the roster shapes up, where you have some needs, where you decide to go deep, so in certain positions, and it just worked out that we're happy for Tommy. He was claimed by New England. I'm not sure how many other teams put in claims. We'll be able to probably see that later today or tomorrow, but we would love to have him back. He was claimed, and we wish him nothing but the best.
How do you feel about the quarterback room after training camp, and where is that?
I feel good about it. We had a good spring, good training camp, the preseason games. I felt like those guys played well in all 3 games, so I feel good about where it is right now.
Now that this is your 15th grade, can you tell us your thoughts on the roster and your excitement?
Yeah, I'm excited to. We've been grinding here, so we'll grind for the next couple days. Do a little bit of Washington work probably tomorrow, but there's still a lot of things that we need to focus on to continue to improve on. Again, like the players that we have, like the coaches that we have, you got to go out there and do it.
Joe, obviously we spent so much time talking about Darden, just kind of what he's done this preseason. 2 questions. 1, what have you thought about what he's done? And 2, this is now going to be Russell Wilson's team, so I guess what are you feeling about now his ability to lead this team from what you saw this preseason?
Yeah, the room in general has been good throughout the spring and camp. So, Dave, Shea, Kafka, those guys have done a really good job getting Jackson up to speed. And there's a lot to learn at the quarterback position, and there's a lot put on their plate, and that's hard for young players to come in and not only be able to learn it, but break the huddle, get up there, motion, read the defense, understand what's going on if there's option routes, and then go execute. So he's shown the ability to do that this spring, which we're happy. So all in all, the 3 preseason games, he executed well, and there's still a lot of room for growth there. Still has room for growth and a long way to go. And luckily, he's in a room surrounded by veterans that have played in this league for quite some time, and I think that'll provide dividends down the road. Being around Russell and Jameis. And then as far as Russell, the leadership's been tremendous from the minute he walked in the building, not just on offense or in the quarterback room, but across the entire team. So he's looked good this camp. He had a good camp. He's in good shape, and excited to see what it looks like when we come to the regular season.
Specifically with Jackson, I know you guys went through an extensive pre-draft process with him and evaluated him. Once you got him in the building, training camp, preseason, OT, all that stuff, was there anything about him that surprised you, either that you didn't know or was a little bit better than expected?
With rookie quarterbacks, I would always say how long it's going to take them to get up to speed and be able to go out and execute it. It's one thing to be able to learn in the classroom and regurgitate it, but to go out and actually execute it and do it quickly and correctly, I would say Jackson, impressed me in terms of, not that he couldn't do it or we didn't think he could, but impressed me in terms of how quick he was able to pick it up and actually go execute and play fast. I would say that was something that you don't typically see with rookie quarterbacks at times, and he was able to do that.
Where he was able to do that, did it change anything about the timeline or the plan for him?
I think Dave's has said it a million times. Like, Russ is our quarterback, so that's what we're rolling with, and the timeline will be the timeline, however it works out.
Joe, in terms of the roster, I mean, as you guys have built, and Brandon, I think, was saying it last week, how it's changed and evolved for you guys from year one to year two, and now, obviously this year. With the roster and roster building, did you go into this period now with a different feeling than maybe you had a year ago or 2 years ago about where you're at, what positions you were strong at, weak at, and really attack it differently than maybe you would have in the past?
Yeah, every year it's evolving. There's turnover in the roster, and it takes time to build it. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. I would say one of the things that Dave's and I tried to do early on, it's just hard, it takes time, is we talk about leadership in every room. And when we go through our personnel meetings and where we are now with some of the recent off-season acquisitions, plus maybe some of the guys that were here, or a guy a year or two ago, we finally been able to add leadership in every room, and we feel good about the team leadership, and I think that's showed throughout the spring and in training camp. The leadership, some of the veterans that we have, some of our own that have grown into leaders. I would say that's one of the bigger differences that I felt throughout this offseason. But it takes time to do that, because sometimes good players that are leaders cost a lot of money, and maybe you don't have the financial resources. Then you're a young team, and trying to surround them with people that can teach them how to lead, but maybe they're not starting, so it's hard for them to learn now, but they got leadership. So that's a little complicated, but we feel good about the leadership that we have now, some of the pieces that we've added this offseason, and some previous pieces that were here before. And talent-wise, again, we'll see. We got to go out and do it like Dave said. We like the roster, we like the chemistry, we like the leadership. Now we got to go out and do it on Sundays.
Joe, you come into a new team. Obviously, you inherit a bunch of players, right? You change some, but you can't change all. This is your fourth roster now. When you look at this whole group, do you say, this is what I envision a team should be? Not that it's a perfect team, but is it more your vision of what you want a roster to be in your fourth year as opposed to when you first started?
Yeah, we'll see. Like I was just saying on Art's question, I like the team, I like the chemistry, I like the leadership. We had a good training camp, we had a good spring. Now we're 2 weeks away, we have to go out and do it. So do I like the team? Yes. I like the chemistry. I feel like we've been executing. We've had good practice. The guys have done a good job through camp. It's been really good competition, and now it's time to go out and do it.
Not even just like you like it and we'll see how we do, but as far as the way it's made up, edge rushers, more depth on the offensive line, this is the way you put it together now. Veteran quarterback, rookie quarterback. Is that, does a GM have a vision for what he kind of wants, and is this more of the vision than it has been before?
Yeah, and when you're in the roster construction, everybody's going to have a different role. You're going to have your starters, you're going to have your backups, you're going to have guys that are here for special teams, whether returner, whatever it may be, core four guys as depth players. So, we just ask our guys to, understand their role and execute it the best they can. And yeah, you wish you could have 53 Pro Bowlers. You're probably not. So those guys that have roles, they need to accept their role, be good team players and go out and execute their role the best they can. So, again, I like the guys we have. Again, I like where we are as a team, and I'm excited to see what we do, in Washington.
When you have to make tough cuts, does that say something about the talent level, that you had some really hard decisions to make this training camp?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever been in a league where it hasn't been a tough cut. Again, I've said this multiple times. Every player puts so much into it to try to be on a roster, and roughly 1,200 guys are out of a job come cut down day. You bring, call it 580, 600 back, whatever that may be. That means over 650 guys are out of the league right now. So every year is tough relative to releasing players. And then you get some back on a practice squad, which now you have more numbers to do that. And really, the way we envision a practice squad is you're part of the New York Giants. You're on the team. the way it works now, it's you need those guys. So we're putting that together. Feel good about that as well, and just look forward to getting out there to practice today. These last couple of days are, they're always kind of tough days. There's, that's why we did a walkthrough and some of that other stuff just to get through it. And now we're back. The guys that we've signed or are signing right now on the practice squad will be out there. Get back to normal.
It's a long break from the last time you played a preseason game, and for the frontline starters, it's even longer. Leading up to week 1. Do you have to do anything special to sort of keep guys sharp during that lengthy break?
Well, it's mandatory they get a certain amount of days off, so we've been practicing hard. We'll have a full padded practice today. We'll have a full padded practice next week. That's why you train all the off-season, training camp, and just getting to be ready to be the start of the season.
This summer, when next thing you know it's over, what did you learn about this group throughout the summer that you've assembled? I know each group is like different every year, so what did you learn about this specific group?
Yeah, I would go back to Art's question on just the leadership and the continuity, and just it started in the spring, I would say. Even a guy like Brian Burns, from last year to this year, the jump he's making, he's been a tremendous leader this offseason. And again, some of the offseason acquisitions that we brought in, Russ and Jameis and Roy Robertson Harris and Holland and Paulson, and true pros that have the DNA that we look for and covet. And again, the camaraderie. Guys that love ball, guys that hold each other accountable, staying after, doing the extra. So I really like where they are right now, the way they're approaching the season, and just the true aspect of the team feel that we have.
What made you come to the conclusion like that's what you needed? Like, was there a point or anything specific that you saw that said, that's something we need to address this offseason?
We're always looking for that. We've been looking for that, and we're always going to look for it. We brought in Bobby Elkariki a couple years ago. He's got leadership. We brought in Greg Van Roten. He's got leadership. So it's not like John Runyon, Devin Singletary, like these guys are like that. We've been able to acquire more and more and more guys that have those traits and qualities that we covet. And the more of those guys you can have that are going to do things the right way and are unselfish and true pros, that can be contagious for some of the young players, and it can elevate everybody.
Joe, did you make any waiver players that you didn't get?
No, those were the two we put in.
Obviously, filling out the practice squad now, you'll have some guys out there, I would imagine. I took a picture of it before I came out here. I was scrambling. So if you guys want to, I'm not going to tell you who signed back this far. So Lane, Fox, Garcia, Ford. Am I talking too fast? Is that right? Chapman, Hudson, Riley, Kubis, Amir, Lil Jordan, Turbo, and D. Williams right now are the guys that we got back, and we'll continue to fill out the rest between now and tomorrow.
So do you feel like you need a quarterback? You've got 3 on the active roster, of course. Do you need a practice squad quarterback?
We're just going to go with 3 for right now.
Anything else?
What did Fedoni and Corey Black show you guys this summer that you wanted that earned themselves a spot on the roster here?
Yeah, both 7th round picks that had traits, and Corey unfortunately was injured the majority of camp, so he had a good spring. He showed some traits there that we were excited about. Unfortunately, just injured in camp, so we'll see what happens there. But Fedoni showed up in preseason games, showed up in camp, big, long, athletic, good hands, improving as a blocker. So we're excited about him. You saw the catch radius, the soft hands in a couple of those games. So can also contribute on special teams. So the 4th down value is important for those guys.